Greetings and welcome to the little town of Henfield, about 10-15 miles north of Brighton on this freezing cold, frosty morning. Snow's still hanging around, it's still barely holding it together on the ground. Let's drive to Brighton, come and join me. Okay, let's go. As you can see, the snow is still kind of hanging around, especially more, it's pretty much disappeared from Brighton now, but just north of Brighton, it's still hanging around in these little country, little towns. Now, as always, with my Drive Me videos, I will be discussing various topics. I'll timestamp them down below. If you want to skip to a certain topic, do so. Let's clean the window a little bit there, shall we? There we go. So I'm coming up to Christmas week now. I'm feeling very Christmassy. Look at this. It's nice to see. This is the perfect amount of snow. Just a little bit hanging around just to make it look a little bit festive. I like that. It's good. It's good. Now, first of all, I'm going to get straight onto Brexit. You guys seem to like this topic. It seems to get the most amount of views. You seem to be interested. I'm interested, of course. And good old twatty face Mogg this week. I'm sure you've all seen the clip, but I'll just do a brief description if you haven't. Mogg was on Question Time this week trying to tell a wine merchant how to operate his business and how our Australian trade deal is obviously benefiting the wine business. And surprise, shock horror, the wine merchant told him that that's a load of rubbish and Brexit is completely destroying his business and trade with wine. Oh, twat face Moggy. Twat face Mogg. No one cares about your opinions anymore, mate. No one gives a shit about your opinions. Everyone knows you're a fraud now. Everyone knows everything that comes out of your mouth is absolute tosh. And that's what kind of makes me a little bit more cheerful. And every single time I talk about Brexit, I feel like we're getting a step further with public opinion. And again, this week, I think everyone knows now that Brexit is a complete catastrophe. Everyone knows now that we made a massive mistake. Everyone knows that it's no good for the economy. Apart from your diehards, your real hardcore diehard fans of Brexit, like your Darren Grimes and stuff like that. He put out a hilarious video this week actually saying that Mogg done a good job on Question Time of letting people know that we're now in control of our own failures. It doesn't matter that our businesses are failing, it doesn't matter that trade has reduced, it doesn't matter that we've got all these horrendous problems of Brexit, but we're in control. We're in control of the of the catastrophe. It's such a prick. It's only these wankers left, and this is why as time goes on, I feel better about Brexit, because now the people are talking about it more. Now everyone knows that it's a load of rubbish. That's going to get the media talking about it more, which they are. You know, we slag off the BBC quite a lot for not talking about Brexit, but you know, they had a segment on Question Time, which is a good step forward. They're talking about this, and if the public are talking about it and the media are talking about it, the politicians have to talk about it. And most importantly, Keir Starmer needs to take note and listen to public discourse and listen to public opinion on Brexit, and hopefully he'll follow that advice rather than this very strange policy that he has right now of Brexit and trying to get those Brexit supporting votes. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road with the conversation, but it's good news. Now we know that it's going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, more likely impossible to ever go back into the EU. Even difficult to get customs union and single market, but we got to try our best to just get, as soon as that starts happening, then it's going to be a benefit for this country. As soon as politicians are actually starting to talk about it again and just trying their utmost, because no one's trying at the moment to do anything about Brexit, as long as they're trying their utmost to get as close to a Swiss style European coalition, which would never happen, because we know in the EU they can't stand that Swiss deal anyway. But whatever we can get as close to that as possible, we just got to try our utmost to do it. Moggy this week making a twat out of himself is only going to further the public discourse and public opinion, and it's only good. Like I say, whenever I talk about Brexit, I always feel like it is going one step further, one step better each time, because you think about public opinion, even 4 months ago on Brexit, you still had a lot of people not really seeing it as a problem, not really thinking about it even that much. But now, because Christmas is here, the cost of living is here, strikes are happening, and people know that we need to strengthen this economy, and people are starting to realise the effects of Brexit, and that's only good news. But what's your thoughts on that? I guess that's all I got on that one today, but I just see it as such a massive benefit at the moment. It's whatever we can do to get people in just general life just thinking about Brexit and thinking about what it's done to our economy, and just trying to push forward. And people, like my dad, admitting that they made a mistake with Brexit. It's only good. It's only good. Okay, well, I think we've got some nice, beautiful. Am I going to turn to the right? You probably can't see this, but to the right of me, I've got some lovely, beautiful, snowy hills over in the distance there. It'd be a shame if I can get them in shot. Maybe when I come around the corner, you might be able to see them, but they're quite nice. What else I want to talk about this week? I've done a couple of live streams, and I've done a podcast this week as well. It's not up yet, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Thanks to Thom from Nought for the live stream that I'd done on Thursday. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed talking to him about that. All about misinformation, social media, TikTok, conspiracy theories. It was really good chatting to him, and if you didn't see it, link down below, all that sort of thing. And also go check out his channel, because he's done some really good videos on this subject, which is exactly why I wanted to talk to him. And it was interesting, because I mainly got sparked to talk to him about this from my live stream that I'd done about climate change, where I found myself in a situation debating climate change with climate change deniers. And I don't think it done. Anyway, watch the live stream if you want to see more detail about my opinions on that, and whether it done any good. But what I want to talk about now is that what I think came out of that conversation that I had with these two prominent right-wing YouTube channels is we disagreed about immigration, we disagreed about climate change, but what was interesting at the end of the discussion, we were talking about more socialist home policies of higher tax for better public spending, and nationalisation of certain industries and stuff, and we found common ground. And I put out a short video yesterday. You guys probably didn't see it, because my short videos seem to tank at the moment. I really don't understand the algorithms of short videos. I mean, I've got 1.5 million views on one of my short videos, and I get loads of views on them, and then sometimes you put one out and they absolutely tank, so no one probably saw it. But I just found it very interesting. I'll put it up on the screen. One of these right-wing YouTube channels I've done videos about before has put up a poll. Do you want to see energy companies nationalised? And 80% of his viewers agree. And I just found it absolutely fascinating that an obvious staunch Jeremy Corbyn style policy, one of the main things that he'd want to implement if he got into power, nationalisation of the energy companies, is so popular among supposed right-wing viewers. I found it absolutely fascinating. And the point I was making is this: have you ever heard of this theory where people can go so far to the right that they kind of spiral round and end up on the left? I mean, do we have more in common than we think? I think some of these policies are really popular just across the political divide. Doesn't matter where you are, whether you're left, you're right, you're Tory, you're Conservative. Some things, nationalisation of the railways is a classic example of that. That's been a popular policy for a long time, for a very, very long time. That's been popular. And with what we're seeing with energy prices going up, it looks like energy companies as well as popular. It was really fascinating. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Do we actually share a lot more in common on policy than we actually think? And maybe these labels, these left-right labels, are just so abstract now. I mean, do we really know what is exactly left-wing and right-wing when it comes to policy? I think the picture is kind of muddied. And when you talk to people that are supposedly on the right or are supposedly on the left, when you actually engage in conversation, I think you find out what things. Of course, you talk about the things that you don't have in common, but you also get to the things that you do have in common, and that's more interesting to me. That's much more interesting to me than just arguing for hours of the things that we disagree on. Yeah, what do you think? I found that very interesting. I want to go on with the strikes again because it's prominent on the news, and. I guess. First of all, I saw the nurses on Thursday striking outside Brighton. I'll add that clip in now. Go on, the nurses, fight those fucking Tory pricks. And I think Frankie Boyle, actually, I don't know whether you've seen this, but I think Frankie Boyle summed up perfectly some of our feelings at the moment towards these strikes.
The nurses go on strike. They're going to start trying to get us to hate the nurses, the people who look after us, the people who care for us. Are we not supposed to want to see nurses paid properly? Are nurses the bad guys now? When we were out applauding for them during COVID, was that supposed to be done sarcastically? Oh, well done. Thanks a lot. Thanks for saving my granny.
He just sums up my feelings, really. He just completely sums up my feelings in his great, amazing, funny way that he does, Frankie Boyle. But yeah, when you're just getting TV presenters on 100, 200 grand a year, just damning nurses for wanting to upgrade from their 30 grand a year, it really frustrates me. It really, really does. I know who means more to me in life, nurses or TV presenters, and the majority of you feel the same. Now, yesterday I put on my community page if anyone had any topics they wanted me to talk about on this drive to post them, and I think some of these link in with the strikes anyway, so I'll go through a couple of them. I know, William, you were asking what's going to happen if the strikes don't end, if the Tories continuously keep ignoring it, what's going to happen 6 months down the road. Well, it's going to be a disaster, and that's where we're heading, because the only way that I can see it is the Tories are just hoping, waiting for public opinion to change on the strikers, and people just get fed up with it, and all the anger get put onto the strikers, which we can see happening, and they'll probably try and just go for the minimal raise possible. But you know, this country is just going to go down the shitter because of it. We talked about Brexit earlier. It's a catastrophe. It's an absolute catastrophe. But yeah, it's going to be awful, man. It's going to be awful, and the economy yet again is going to suffer. But the Tories don't care about that. They just want public opinion to change. Rennie was sorry, I was stored in my head these topics. I know Rennie was asking how much damage do you think is going to happen, which kind of links in with this question: how much damage over the next possible 2 years of Tory government, and how are Labour going to deal with that when they do eventually inevitably come in? Well, it's a good question, Rennie, because it scares me. We've got no control over the damage this government's going to do to this country over the next 10 years. And what scares me further is I don't think Keir Starmer's going to be drastic enough when he comes in. We need utter, drastic, massive change, massive things. I mean, NHS is forefront in my mind because we were just talking about it a second ago. But it's not something that can be sorted with just a little bit of extra funding. It needs massive, radical uppour of the whole thing. I don't want to go into it too much, but obviously I've got a little foot dipped in the NHS. I know a little bit about it from my wife working for the NHS, and just things that I hear about money being wasted. Things like small example, but look at it over the whole institution of the NHS. Things like, you know, the printers permanently breaking down, and instead of forethought to actually maybe replace it, they just keep getting people to fix it at extra expense, and it's just, the whole thing needs to be operated so much better. It's probably a bad example, but massive change needs to be done, and I'm not sure Keir Starmer is the one to do it. I don't know. I know he needs to, well, who knows what Keir Starmer's going to do. There was an interesting question from Exxon that was saying, why do people in England not say that we're in Europe? They think that Europe is a separate entity. Interesting question. I think that's more of just misuse of language when talking about the continent of Europe. I think that's what it boils down to. I mean, if you ask most people in this country what continent is the UK in, they will say it's in Europe, but it's just language. I think more people just casually say Europe rather than the continent of Europe when referring to the continent of Europe. I don't know, but maybe there's further thing about the separation of us from Europe. I mean, that's what Brexit was all about anyway for these arseholes, wasn't it? It's just historic. They've always seen us different to Europe, separate from Europe, even though one of my viewers commented on my video that I'd done with my dad quite well, when my dad said that, you know, we feel quite different to Europe, and he said, well, yeah, so does a Norwegian guy from an Italian guy. it's so obvious, it so makes sense. What else? We had Skylar that wanted to ask about wealth inequality in this country. It's real, it's big, and it's getting worse by the month. It's tragic. I mean, I can only comment from my experiences and the people that I speak to, but I'm finding it tough in a family where me and my wife both work full time. My son now has started working. He's 17. He's got a job down McDonald's. So that burden is taken away from me because you know, he's at that age now. He's buying his own clothes. He buys a lot of his own things. So there's more of a burden taken off of me. I don't have to give him pocket money and allowance and things like that. And we're finding it hard to pay the bills, especially with Christmas coming up. We're struggling. So single parent families that have got 3-4 kids to look after, you know, and I speak to people in my deliveries that I do. I speak to people that are really, really struggling, and I think the worst thing about it at the moment is, you know, people are managing to just cover the bills, and that's what's so tragic about it, because it doesn't leave any room for life. I think that's what most people are struggling with right at the moment. They're getting by, they're paying the bills, but there's no money left for life, for socialising. Whatever your thing is, maybe it's going down the bingo, or maybe you'd meet up for lunch with friends or something. That side of it is just disappearing from life at the moment for a lot of people, and that's what's really tragic. And it's, I mean, you say about wealth inequality, obviously those at the top it's not affecting at all, but I guess the middle classes and are really starting to feel it now. Another question. I'm actually at my delivery spot, so I might have to come back with that in a sec. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. Right, let's have a quick sip of coffee. Now, I'll just check the other the other comments that were on my community page. Steve asked a question about the new chief fundraiser for the Tories. Unfortunately, Steve, I haven't researched that one enough, but I'll certainly check it out and see what the deal is. If you want to put a comment on this video, a bit more detail about it, I'll be happy to look into that, but unfortunately I don't know too much about that. The other one was from the Absolute Bedlam podcast. did it change my life going on his podcast? And that's exactly what I'm going to get into now. I was on a podcast this week. It's not out yet, but I'll put on my socials exactly when it comes out, so you can all watch it. But it was actually really good. He's a really nice guy. It was great talking to him because it didn't just. It wasn't just all about politics, you know. We just talked about life and other things, which was quite refreshing, actually, if I'm honest. It was really nice. But I'll put in my socials when exactly it's going to be up, and you can listen to that in the car if you've got Spotify or Apple. You can watch it on YouTube as well. But yeah, that was really good. And his second part to the question was who's going to be Prime Minister after Rishi? Well, it's going to be Starmer, isn't it? Unless something really drastic happens, it's going to be Starmer. That's the only one. And then finally, we had a question from George. I did see this, George. I did see traces of cocaine were found at certain parties for Liz Truss and Boris Johnson. But I guess the most shameful thing about it, when you see a news story like that, is the fact that you just don't really blink an eye. That's the worst thing about it, isn't it? It's just like, oh right, oh, there was cocaine at a Tory party. What a surprise. And it's absolutely shocking that that's the case, really, isn't it? It's absolutely shocking. What I'd like have done, if any cocaine is found in any Parliament party or anywhere in the House of Commons, anywhere, on that day, they should release from prison every single person that is in there related to cocaine charges. The bare minimum. It's like, I got so angry when Michael Gove came out and admitted that he'd taken cocaine. I'm like, go to prison then. If you're going to stand there and keep this facade, some of you know my opinions on the drug laws in this country. If you're going to stand there and quite happily put laws that put people in prison for taking cocaine, get in there yourself, mate. Get in there yourself. It annoys me. Same, mate. There's a hair. Yeah, so thanks for commenting, guys. Thanks for your topics to discuss. There were some good ones in there. I think I'll probably call it a day because it's raining. I never like doing videos when it's raining. I always find the wipers are a bit too distracting. What do you think? Anyway, till next time, take care.